Hello and welcome to a new episode of Tech Talk where we talk technology. This week we'll be delving into the untapped potential in Nigeria's video gaming market, emphasizing opportunities for foreign exchange and the export of historical narratives together with a game developer in person of Nosa Endurance. But as always, before we begin, let's take a report on today's topic of discussion. My name is Dorcas Yakubu. You're watching Tech Talk. Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, is often celebrated for its vibrant culture, rich history, and economic dynamism. However, one sector that has remained underexplored despite its immense potential is the video game industry. Globally, the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar market, yet Nigeria has only begun to scratch the surface of what could be a highly lucrative and culturally significant sector. The global gaming industry was valued at over $180 billion in 2021 and is expected to grow significantly in the coming years. In contrast, the Nigerian gaming industry is still in its nascent stages. While there is a growing community of gamers and a few local developers, the industry lacks the infrastructure, investment, and governmental support seen in other parts of the world. However, these present opportunities rather than challenges, and one of these is the fact that Nigerian developers have the potential to create games that appeal to global audiences. By focusing on mobile games, which dominates the African gaming market, developers can create culturally relevant content that resonates with both local and international players. Despite the opportunities, there are challenges that need to be addressed for the Nigerian gaming industry to reach its full potential. These include, but not limited to, infrastructure, funding, and talent development.
In the video game industry, unless you have already made money, there is nothing to show. All you can show is a product.
The video game market in Nigeria is a largely untapped resource with immense potential for both economic growth and cultural export. By investing in this sector, Nigeria can not only create a new source of foreign exchange, but also export its rich historical narratives to the world. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Tech Talk on Trust TV. We now have in the studio with us Nosa Endurance. Good to have you on the program once again.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the call back to the studio. The last time I was here was really
yeah, it was really great. All right, to start the conversation, how would you describe the current state of the video game industry in Nigeria?
Young. In one word, is young, right? The industry really has not pushed profitable products. That's kind of where, that's to give you like a just an overview of where the industry is at. It's really young. We don't draw attention because there's really no profit in it. I understand that in a few years, if things go right, and which I am very optimistic that they would, we will draw a lot of attention. So the state of the industry is, the world is young. The skill level is not as high, the product quality is not as good. So and also because it's an open international market, because there's no way to localize the product. If you finish a product in this particular industry as at now, there's no way to say it is only for people in this area. It is an international product by default because of the distribution storefront. So you cannot cut on quality. It has to meet international standards. So young is the word.
Okay, so what factors do you think are responsible for this lack of growth, in the industry?
Time, to be honest, it's just time, right? Because we are late adopters of technology, right?
Okay.
We just got computers like maybe 20, 30 years ago. And there are people that built those computers, have used them for 50, 60 years, have built software for that amount of time. So we don't expect to just jump into the scene and compete with them almost immediately, right? So time, yes. And then also the fact that there is no education on the, there's no public education on the viability of the sector, right? Because we have other things going for us. We have a lot of other sectors working, or where skill meets opportunity. Because here now there's opportunity, there's no skill to meet it yet. So it's just easier to ignore it and go do other things where skill and opportunity is already at equilibrium. Right.
So what are the opportunities that you see in game development that are yet to be explored in Nigeria? What are some of them?
Like our businesses, the opportunity is usually economic, right? Because the truth is, game development is a business. One of the biggest business in the world. It outsells the movie industry substantially every year, globally. Like that's the global revenue generated substantially outsells the movie industry every year. So now the thing is, the opportunities that we as Africans should, or Nigerians now, let's localize information, should really look at is the fact that, okay, right now we are struggling with our foreign exchange, right? And half of the reason is because we don't generate any foreign exchange, to be honest. Like, apart from the crude oil sector, which I don't even know, I'm not a finance person or an economist, so I can't speak on that, but I don't know the state of how that is helping our exchange rates. But like I was telling you about how the industry is an international industry, there's no way to localize it. It's also an advantage. Meaning whatever product you create would sell internationally. There's no way to sell it in Naira. In fact, there's no way. You can't sell it in Naira, or you can, but the standard, the storefronts, the digital distribution fronts all sell in foreign currency. So if we become successful in this particular industry as Nigerians, it will significantly impact the bottom line economically.
All right, so how do you think the gaming industry in Nigeria can contribute to the country's foreign exchange reserves? You touched on that a bit, so I want you to...
just like I said now, again, it's about selling in a currency, creating, let's not go sales first, let's go back to value. So it's about creating value that is appreciated across borders. So now it is not just creating value for Nigerians or Africans, it's creating value internationally, right? So once you are creating value that can be appreciated across borders, it is just, it is mathematics at that point. It's like, okay, we are providing value that is appreciated across the world, therefore we get value back that is also not localized to us. It's going to be an international standard value that would eventually affect the bottom line. There is no way to, it's going to affect our economic exchange rates, yes.
Okay, so before we talk about the international, the gaming industry being a source of foreign exchange, let's talk about games that have reached the international market. Are there any Nigerian, developed games that have reached the foreign market?
Yes, a lot. There's a couple of companies that have worked with international brands. I don't know. Okay, so this is something that is very common in the Nigerian gaming industry or in the gaming scene. Although there is a shift now in recent time. Usually, we develop mobile games, right? Yeah. And mobile games, which makes sense because the amount of persons that have mobile phones here significantly higher. So that is also inward looking. You are trying to develop. So you see things like what games that we play. So there's a digitized version. Things like Ludo, there's a digitized version. Those are successful games downloaded by thousands of Nigerians, if not millions. But the thing is, they won't scale at the level that would like them to scale because we don't know if the market that we're trying to look into, which is me personally, for my brand, I run a game studio. We are trying to look at international markets. I understand that there are gamers in Nigeria and we focus on them, but we want to go out and then come back in. So that because that is where there's significant financial return. The average Nigerian would rather play a free game than pay for a game. But it is normal for foreigners. You understand? It is normal for foreigners to pay for games. It is their tradition. It's what they've always done.
Okay, from data, I'm pretty sure you've worked with data and all of that. Are there people in the international space downloading these games that you've made mention of?
Yeah, of course. I don't know about the mobile scene because I don't make mobile games, right? Okay. So if you go on Steam, I think somebody launched, I've forgotten the name of the game now, a single individual launched a game for PCs recently. Because I do a lot of research just to know where we are in the market currently, I looked at his numbers. Although you can't get a direct amount, but from estimates, there are statistical estimates you can make. he should have pushed at least maybe 500 to 1,000 copies at the medium price point, which is like maybe $10 to $15. He has made significant amount of money. I don't know the amount of development time, and I don't know the labor cost. So maybe he's not in his profit yet. But the fact that the persons buying this game are obviously not Nigerians, that one I can almost guarantee, right? But then he's still able to push the amount of copies. But it's not much by the standards that we are trying to, scale. It's not much at all, but it is a step in the right direction. That first of all, somebody is now making products for the international market. Somebody has made a product, a complete one, finished, out there, generating revenue, even if not at the desired scale. So it's like it's a move in the right direction. Yeah. So there are a couple of products that have been released that have good numbers. So there is also some in development. So another indicator, right, to see if something would, if a product would get numbers, is the interest it gets from investors. So the gaming industry is very different in this sense that there is no cash flow. You don't make money up front. So you can spend a year, 2 years in development. You are essentially in limbo. You don't know what will happen. You can either go to hell or heaven. It can either be loss or be profit, right? So in that whole year, you'll be spending money, paying salaries, paying artists, paying everything for a year or maybe average 2 years or 18 months. And then you pay salaries for that amount until you go to market, right? So one of the indicators to see if your product is viable is if investors, which are usually publishers, that's game publishers, are ready to give you money. So some of our products, some of the products in the Nigerian scene, I think 1 or 2 persons have gotten publisher funding. So that's an indication that, okay, they are doing something good enough that somebody else is willing to stake their money on it and be like, okay, I trust that this would sell eventually when it's finished. So, yeah.
All right. So what role do you think international partnerships will play in, helping to boost the gaming industry in Nigeria? Two areas that comes to mind. There may be more, but at this point, 2, right? One of them, which is undeniable, is finance, right? Because they have been in this sector for a long period of time. They will know viable opportunities or viable products, and then they would invest in them. That's one. And then the second area is in the area of networking. So you cannot exist alone. And not only that you cannot exist alone, it's the fact that, there are just like this is a media house. So there are media houses that are specific to gaming. You can't access them just by sending them an email. You technically can, but the truth is, it's mostly because you mostly gain access to this kind of houses by, a word of mouth. Oh, okay, there's this publisher from Africa. I think their product is good. We really want you to put it out there. It's marketing. There'll probably be marketing dollars going into it, but at least to get your foot in the door, you probably need somebody to vouch for you. So we need that networking to open doors and be like, okay, this project is good enough. We think that it's something that can scale globally. We want you to give it attention. Let's get eyeballs on it. What about the government and private sector in Nigeria?
So counter the trend of things, right? This particular government is really investing in creativity. Okay. We have not felt the direct impact, I won't lie, right? But I've seen the Ministry of Arts and Arts and Culture and Creative Economy. I can't be relatively long, but I've seen initiatives because I follow them on Instagram. I've seen initiatives where they are trying to get funding from, I think, investor banks and focus it exclusively on creative endeavors in the country, right? So obviously that involves gaming, right? And I've been reached out to by their office directly to say, okay, what are you doing? What is your project? How can we support you? Nothing has come of it. But the fact that that is even a thing that happens now, it's a step in the right direction. And I want personally, as an individual and on behalf of my organization, we want to appreciate the government for that initiative. So
earlier you made mention of either you go to hell or you go to heaven. Yeah. So why would someone want to invest in the gaming industry when there's no certainty of, profits?
As an African, as Nigerian, I because of the size of the market makes me say African, because it's so small that you can't even nationalize it. You have to do it at a continental level. If you make games from Nigeria and you make a good game, this is the thing. The bottom line is the product has to be good. There is no, oh, I'm Nigerian, so they should appreciate it regardless. No, it's an international market. This market is saturated. They see good games every day. So you cannot come with a shabby product. The product has to be good.
Okay.
If you make a good product from Nigeria, you will make money. It is, see, you know why? The thing is this. The average developer anywhere else around the world is paid at least $10,000 a month. I can get away with paying somebody $500, which is almost like 700 or 800K. That's way above average salary in this country, right? So meaning,
I mean, our minimum wage is 70,000.
Exactly. So meaning you can develop a product at a very cheap cost without exploiting labor. So you actually pay your people well, pay them so that they can live well, but you would develop an excellent product for cheap compared to the international standard. So what that means also is that our risk threshold is higher. So if assuming I am developing a game and a company in the US is developing a game, they spend $100,000 to develop their game. I spend $20,000 to develop my game. My break-even point is almost 80% lower. Like I need to make $20,000 to be like, oh, I didn't make loss at least. Why them? They need to make $100,000 before they think of profit. So it's like, because of, this is now our advantage, because of our currency, which is supposed to be a bad thing, for the first time it's playing to our advantage. If we make products here, our risk level so low that we can sell mediocre, comparatively mediocre numbers and still make profit. So the average success numbers for a video game is like 15,000 copies. You can sell 5,000 copies in Nigeria and be very successful. So you can say, man, we pushed only 5,000 copies. And then if you sell it at maybe $10 a pop, you are going to make so much money that it's average businesses would not make that in a year. So yeah, it is very viable economically. It's just that the underlying factor has to be the product has to be good. It cannot be a shabby product. You won't get away with, and I win on Nigerians, we are just trying now. You cannot get away with just trying. It has to be good because you are not judged on just trying. So
we've been talking about Nigeria. Nigeria has, a very rich culture, or rich cultures rather. Yeah. We have the Benin culture, we have Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. How can these different cultures be incorporated into the gaming, development? You see,
this is the thing, this is where, in fact, it's one of the reasons why I pivoted into video gaming, right? Is that there's so much untapped stories, so much, like it's plenty, that, okay, recently, a game just came out, maybe like a month ago, Black Meat Wukong. It's a game made by Chinese about their meats. Then there's something called Mocking King, it's a Chinese meat. Just made the game. As at today, I think I sold 15 million copies, right? Obviously, China has the population to sell 15 million copies, right? But what I'm saying is that that's their story, packaged and sold to the world. We have myths or legends or gods. We have in Amadioha, Shango. These are stories that can be packaged for. And even if we don't want to go myths, we have drama, a lot of drama going on in our. There's cultism. If you make a violent game about cultism, GTA V and something about confraternity in Nigeria is in the same scale. If you do it well. The problem is do it well. So it's not exporting our stories. We don't ever have to tell white stories. We have more than enough stories to tell as Africans that we'll never have to impose white characters on our stories. Unless we do it willingly, maybe for, I don't know what reason that would be. Yeah, for fun, exactly. But if you say stories to tell, oh my God, there's so much in fiction. If you are tired of Nigeria, just extend a bit to the neighboring countries. There's so much fiction to go around for the next, 50 to 100 products, right?
All right, so you touched on, creating or developing games on cultism and all that. Are there no restrictions to that in Nigeria and globally?
I don't know, honestly. I have not really done my research into the restrictions because that's not the area we are going to. We don't want to start from there. We don't want to start from violence, obviously, right? Okay. So the product we are developing is more about like, culture, but that's beside the point. So the thing is, the video game industry has always been controversial. So if, assuming we make a product and then it's flagged even in our country, we can still ship it internationally, right? And it has happened a couple of times. when the first GTA was released, no, the fourth one, San Andreas, when it was released, it was banned in most countries, but it's still one of the most downloaded and most played video game up to this point in time, because it was controversial. You could kill cops, you could kill police, you could cause crime, and nobody would just want you to do that, right? But that's the medium of video games. That's what it allows you to do. It allows you to, take on a fantasy of who you are not in real life. So you can go all out and do whatever it is that you want. Like we play Call of Duty, I'm not a soldier. So neither does it mean that because I shot a gun in a video game, I will take gun in real life and start shooting people. So it's a fantasy. And the more freedom we get to explore those areas, and there's really nothing anybody can do about it because of the international nature of it. You can't police it. Okay, what if I publish, what's it called, independently, without a name? People still get to enjoy it. The product is out there. You don't even know if it came from Nigeria. It's an international product. So I don't know if it is being policed, but even if it is, I would advise strongly against it because it's going to be practically impossible to do.
All right, so what are some of the challenges faced by game developers in Nigeria when trying to create games that are culturally and historically themed?
Well, I would say let's not say documentation. So the thing is that most of our historical background is either they were not taught or we did not learn, right? Because I studied architecture. In my secondary school, we didn't do history. In my university, there was no elective courses on history, right? So I have if by standard education, I have no idea of my historical background. But because of the nature of the job and because I know I need to make a product that is historically relevant, I have gone to do my research. And then, so one of the things that happen is that you find out that there is no actual resource just readily available. There's a couple of, these things here and there, and also there's gatekeeping. There's the fact that you have to pay in some certain areas just to know. You are not asking for them just to know what's the history of this object. You will now have to shell out an amount to just talk to somebody, schedule an appointment with people that have this knowledge about this object. It's practically impossible. In fact, to even know them is impossible. Now, when you know them, to not get appointments with them to talk to them is also impossible.
So is this a call to the government to inculcate, history in the curriculums in school?
I would, I don't know why it is not already being done. Because
I think you're meant to choose whether you want to do history or you want to do another course. So are you saying it should be mandatory?
Yeah. When we were in school, we did JSTLB ENT, entrepreneurship. So that was mandated. And because, obviously, we are having an employment crisis, you would want people to go into entrepreneurship, start businesses, and then employ people, which makes sense. In that same vein, you can also not force, but mandate things like history. Even if it's not too much, you don't have to learn everybody. Maybe investing in Benin should teach Benin history by default. Investing in the North should teach Northern history by default, at least for your first year in school. Even if you don't bog the person down over the next 3 years or 5 years, just that first year, know at least about what happened in this environment that you are learning at.
All right, so let's go back to game development.
Okay.
How do you think the Nigerian government can, support the game development industry?
The same way that we talked about the external investors, that's the international investors, that's the same way that the Nigerian Nigerian economy would be able to help, right? Access to, people, places, and then funding, right? Also maybe labor laws. So in the funding area, one of the things I think is already being done is that because of the nature of the business, like now, if you go to a bank for a loan, there will be things like show cash flow. So if you run a business like, say, a hotel, there's cash flow. 10 people came to lodge yesterday night, so we predict that maybe 100 people will lodge in the next 1 month. In the video game industry, unless you have already made money, there's nothing to show. All you can show is a product. And our traditional bankers will not be like, okay, so you're showing me cartoon. I should come and give you money. No, you understand? So it's not, so there should be leniency to access of funding who would abuse opportunities like that. Like people are bound to, whether across the board, Nigerians or not, will abuse opportunity where the access to capital is reduced. That is, the restrictions to access to capital is reduced. It will definitely be abused. But then, because it will be abused, we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We should be able to separate and know that, okay, maybe have a rigorous onboarding process that can, fish out, okay, this product looks as it's viable. This one looks as if it's just trying to get money and run away. So let people that are experienced be the ones a banker should not be the one vetting a creative product. A creative should vet a creative product, and then it's okay, bank, you can take action on this one. This one looks like that it's going to go somewhere.
Where do you see the gaming industry in Nigeria in the next 5 to 10 years? In
the next 5 to 10 years, we will be in a very, very good place, right? Very good place. And this is not even I'm not just being optimistic or because I'm in the industry, right? The industry has the potential to do a lot of numbers because, like I said, and I'm not more trying to money grab, is that it is so financially viable that once it takes off, it's going to overshadow a lot of other creative ventures. If it takes off, it is going to overshadow a lot of other creative ventures. So what we need to focus on is the product. So like to all game developers out there, the advice would be make a good product. Just make a good product. Blow out the noise. Don't listen to anybody. It will not work. It will fail. Just keep them quiet. Just make a very good product.
Oh, thank you so much for coming to the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. If you are a young game developer, here are some tips to get you started. Step 1. Start small and build up. Begin with small manageable projects. These could be a basic platformer or puzzle game. Starting small helps you learn the fundamentals of game development without becoming overwhelmed. Step 2. Master a game engine. Popular game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine are great starting points. Unity is often recommended for beginners due to its large community, wealth of tutorials, and versatility across 2D and 3D games. Step 3. Get comfortable with coding. Most game engines use specific languages. Invest time in learning and practicing one of these languages. Step 4. Use free and open source tools. Utilize free or open source tools for assets like Blender for 3D modeling or GIMP for 2D art. There are also many free libraries and frameworks that can speed up development. Step 5. Join the community. Engage in game jams to practice working under tight deadlines and to connect with other developers. And finally, step 6, keep learning. The game development field evolves quickly with new tools, techniques, and trends emerging regularly. Follow industry news, take online courses, and continuously learn to keep your skills sharp. And this is where we draw the curtains. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms for more programs and documentaries. My name is Dorcas Yakubu. Until next time, goodbye.